Welcome to the Enter the Mind podcast.
The most real talk, no nonsense podcast on the empowering of the mind.
Why enter the mind? Because it's that room in your house that's been there all along that you've never gone into.
Well, now it's time to enter with two mind coaches dedicated to self-help and the thriving of all human beings.
I'm Kyra Carlin.
And I'm Robert Nelson.
Welcome to Enter the Mind.
In this week's episode, we'll be talking about relating in relationships with yourself and with others. Kyra, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing really good. I worked with the full moon, so that was really powerful.
What
and now I
that?
just I did a spell for releasing things that don't serve me anymore. So I did a spell for that, and the energy was just really powerful. And now I'm just making sure that I have everything set up for the last month of 2020 so I can go into 2021 feeling good and confident. How about you? How are you?
Yeah, I dig that. I like the feeling of that. Yeah, I'm doing good. The sun is coming up here in San Jose, so I am again transitioning from that strange state of what we call sleep, or what I am thinking nowadays is more so a travel to a different reality that's in my mind, and I am arriving back to this sort of reality that we refer to most often when we say the word reality. So how about that for an early morning answer? All right, but give me some context for this topic for today, relating to yourself and others, and let's get the ball rolling.
Well, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about how, to put it as simply as possible, if you don't like yourself, chances are your relationships with others are going to be pretty shitty. And then if you do like yourself, chances are that your relationship with others is going to be, pretty smooth sailing. So what comes up for you when you think about relationships with yourself and others?
Yeah, what you just said resonates, because I've met people who they think low of themselves, or they interpret everything negatively. So then I'll say something, or I don't text back, and they think automatically like, oh, he's upset at me, or I did something wrong. And then it makes it hard to maintain that relationship, because it's like a false interpretation.
Especially because I feel like you start going and assuming. And I was talking about this with my friend the other day, because I haven't always had the best luck with guys, and this isn't just about relationships with a significant other, but it's about your relationships with your friends. So it's thinking of you, right? Say I text you and I'm hey, I found $100 on the street today, woo, and you didn't answer. You just didn't answer because you were busy. I'd probably be like, oh, I'm so busy. It's cool. We can talk about the $100 that I found another time. But sometimes with significant others, or just in general, maybe a friend, if you're insecure, if you text them a message and they don't answer, you're like, fuck are they doing? Why aren't they fucking answering? So what comes up for you with that?
Yeah, and totally. And I've been there. I'm not 100% secure in myself, but the whole thing about life is that it's this constant evolution and constant movement forward. That's how I view life. And so if yesterday I was 73% secure in myself, then today I want to be 74, you know?
I love that. I like that you only moved it up like one notch, because I feel like another thing that like humans have is like impatience with like relationships with themselves and others. So, you know, if you have patience with yourself, then you can have patience with others. So, like, if you were 73% secure yesterday and you want to be 74% today, then maybe your significant other, you guys were, I don't know, just in the beginning of dating or something. So you're at a 12%, and today you want to raise it to a 13%, you know? So, if you're patient with yourself, you can be patient with others, and that's actually really, really good. I like that.
And it makes me think of, it makes me realize that there's that when you're talking with a friend and it's very much like relating to your own mind. It was very clear just a second ago. I want to say, slipping in and out. I want to say that because I look for these patterns, right? And in past episodes, I've said that the inner dialogue, the internal dialogue, that voice in your head that kind of narrates and says, you know, for example, the voice of insecurity, you know, saying, oh, this person hasn't texted me back, you know, that I did something wrong, whatever. That voice is not really yourself. And so to really get in alignment with yourself, you have to realize that you're the one observing and hearing that voice, but that voice is not you. Right? So then that voice in your head, you can grab it, pull it out, and place it here next to all of the other people in your life. And so you've got your best friend, your brother, sister, your family members, and the voice in your head. They're all standing in a straight line in front of you, right? And so this question of how you relate to that voice in your head is just like the question of how you relate to your mother, father, sister, brother, best friend, boyfriend, girlfriend, etc.
Okay, I get that. What are you saying when you say, like, what do you mean you relate to the voice in the head as you do your mother, brother, or sister? What, can you elaborate?
Yeah, so if you're dealing with an insecure person, right, that takes certain strategies to do that. And I think it's kind of similar to interacting or relating to an insecure voice that's in your head, because there's various voices in your head and various characters. Some of them are more confident than others, and some of them are more insecure than others. So it's like this cast of characters.
Yeah, I get it now. I just needed a little bit of elaboration.
Sure.
And I like that too, because it makes me think, like, if you know the voices that go on in your head, which ones are insecure and which ones are confident, because you feel them within yourself and you can know them within yourself, then when you're dealing with an insecure person or a confident person, then you can relate to it and feel to it the same way as you would the confident and insecure voices in your head. So I definitely like that. And then something else came up for me. When you were talking about, I really like it a lot, because something I've been practicing lately, because I used to be pretty insecure, so like I'm working through it now, and I've definitely become a lot more secure. But I when you look at that insecure voice in your head or those unwanted thoughts in your head, you can take a look at them and you can, you know, pull them out, place them in front of you. And when you do that, it clears a lot out of your actual human, because you're realizing, like, I am not my thoughts. I'm legitimately the witness of my thoughts. And it's not always easy, but when an insecure thought comes up, you can detach yourself from it. And say you get insecure when you're with a friend or a significant other, and you're like, oh my God, they're on their phone, they're not having much fun. You know, like, maybe I should make an excuse to go home. So when you pull that thought out, it's almost like a better connection happens with yourself, which means that you have a better connection with the person sitting in front of you. So I love that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, let's say that, yeah, you are interacting with a person who is very insecure. It's important that you be aware of what interpretations they might be making of your actions. You know what I mean? You have to be aware that, like, if you do such and such a thing, they might interpret that negatively about themselves. So again, yeah, with our example, you know, you have to be aware that if you don't text them right away, they might make a negative interpretation or a negative assumption in their mind. And that makes you even better when it comes to your people skills, because you can kind of see things through their perspective, and it doesn't make you insecure, but it makes you capable of understanding how an insecure person would view the situation. Right?
I get it.
It's kind of like being, I mean, I never really acted in theater other than in 6th grade. I had a small role in the Tom Sawyer play at school, but to use a theater metaphor, it's like you're directing the play or something, and the play has this whole cast of characters in it, which are the people in your life, you know, your friends and family and co-workers, whatever, but also the voices in your head, and the various like characters, various other versions of you that exist in your psyche. So they're all on stage. And, you know, when we're talking about this question of how do you relate to yourself, I would say in the last month, I'm very happy to be me. I'm very comfortable with this right here, because I don't identify with all of that garbage that goes through my head. All of my thoughts, all of my emotions are taking place on the stage, and I'm kind of watching it, and I'm seeing, how does this emotion, you know, on the stage, what does that mean? How does it affect the other characters on the stage, right? The people in my life. And then how does that emotion affect me, and this and that, and right? But all of that content of my head, like you were saying, I've taken it out and placed it on the table, on the stage, so to speak. And so it's like, how do I relate to myself? Well, I relate to myself the same way I relate to others, right? It's like I am the observer. I am and in that position, I have like infinite calm and infinite like okayness with myself, because I am not this and I'm not that. I am the observer. I am witnessing this interplay of like thoughts, emotions, and people.
I like that so much, because me being an empath, I feel people's feelings extremely, and sometimes mistake them for my own, and I won't even know it. And I like that, because now going into situations, any situation really where I'm connecting with another human being, I can really place myself as the observer. I am not you, and it's not like I don't want to feel what they feel, but like what you feel is not mine. That's not mine, you know? So I think it's really cool to place yourself as the observer, not only of your thoughts, but of other people. And I think that that can help better your relationship with yourself and other people, because number one, you're going to be happier with not identifying with every thought that goes into your head, which is going to make your energy lighter, which is going to allow more of what you want to come in because you're making room for it, since you're not identifying with every thought that goes into your head. But since you're happier with yourself, you can now connect better with other people without, I guess, sort of feeling everything that they're feeling, and almost becoming a replica of them. Because I think that the biggest attraction between two people, relationship, friendship, whatever it is, the biggest attraction and connection that draws you two to each other is that you each are your own person. Because I mean, nobody wants to be friends with somebody or a relationship with somebody who is legitimately like exactly the same as them. There's no brain stimulation there. There's nothing going on to wonder about, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think that there's huge evolutionary roots to this, because we've been evolving in tribes of people, tribes of for so long. We're such a social species, you know what I mean? Like, so much of our brain power is in like facial recognition. Like, we can tell just by someone's face if they're happy or sad, or we can, or like with theory of mind, which is the idea that like we can understand that another person has their own mind and might see things differently, because very, very young children don't have that. Our mind is so social, right? Our mind is like, it's wired for social interactions, right? And that's why, and so this topic of relating, the fact that yeah, you bring up the topic of relating as the topic, it's like, that's the human experience, right? Is relating to people. Whether it's, I mean, look, we even have pets, right? We have pets like dogs and cats and other, right? Like, do other species on the planet keep other species as pets, and kind of like give them a name and talk to them and buy them things? And I don't, I think humans are the only ones that do that.
I mean, aliens could definitely have like pet rocks, maybe, that they communicate with like telepathically, because I mean, we're pretty like alienetic. I mean, like we got these cool finger things that we can move that connect with our brain and shit, but like I mean, it's
funny.
I think that you're completely right. I feel like for the human experience, I mean, what would we be without somebody to connect with? Like, I understand that like monks, they can like go out alone for like 10 years or whatever and just sit there and meditate and everything, but like even when they're doing that, they're still connecting. They're connecting with the earth, they're connecting with the stars, they're connecting with energy, you know? So like no matter what we do, we're going to be connecting with something. And with our individual relationship with ourself, I think it all depends on what we're connecting with that helps us have a better relationship with the people that we connect with. Because say I'm connecting with anger and hate and despair and impatience, then chances are I'm probably going to connect with somebody who feels the same way. And that's how we're going to connect, you know, that's how we're going to relate. But like if I'm ambitious, I'm a goal setter. Those are the things I connect with. I'm probably going to connect with somebody who's the same. But I think it all depends on the thoughts that you have inside your head as well, right? So like, say you're like, oh, I'm ambitious, I'm a goal setter, right? And then in your mind, you're kind of having a thought that like, oh, I'd like to connect with somebody who's less than me so I can help them. Or in your mind, you have like a belief and a thought ingrained that you want to connect with somebody who's like you so you can, push each other up. Or you have a thought, I want to connect with somebody who's higher than me so that way they can teach me the things I need to know. So within that sort of grounding foundation of ambitious and goal setting, you have three choices on who you want to connect with. So I feel like there's so many intricate, deep ways on how you can connect with people and the type of people that you connect with based on what you're going for and based on what you want to take somewhere. That foundation. Feel me?
Yeah. Sounds kind of like you attract what you are, sort of a thing. Is that what you're?
Sort of, but it's like we don't always attract what we are, because like sometimes, I'll be walking down the street, and I'm looking pretty hot. And some guy decides to walk up to me and be like, hey, baby. And I'm like, bitch, you better back the fuck up, but like, that's not me. I'm not attracting what I am. I'm not some person who goes up on the street and says, hey, baby. I mean, like, maybe if I'm like really, really drunk and I see a hot guy, but like, no, that's not, that's not what I am. Or like when you're doing really, really good in life and all of a sudden your fucking dog gets hit by a car, that's not who you are. It's not like you attracted it. I mean, I know in the law of attraction they say that like you attract it, but like personally, I truthfully don't think that that's the thing, because like I'm trying to explain it in a way. Okay, so like the better you like yourself and respect yourself and have patience with yourself, the better friends that you are going to attract into your life. So I guess in a way we do attract what we are, but like there's still a fine line to that,
Interesting. I think I'm getting a better picture of kind of the angle that you're taking on this topic, that it's this question of the how much you like yourself, right? That's kind of the starting point, right?
I think so, yeah.
How you relate to yourself, how you like yourself. This is very interesting, very, very interesting, because on the one hand, yeah, I would say it's very important to like yourself. But on the other hand, I would say like in the last month and with these new books I'm reading some books called Reality Transurfing, kind of in the same spirit as or genre as that reality creation book I was talking about. And this stuff is fascinating. It's right down my alley because it's, or what do you say? It's up my alley.
Yeah.
I guess the alley goes two ways, or I don't know. If it's a one-way alley, then never mind. So, but yeah, it's up my alley because it takes it's almost, the language is almost sounds like physics. When this guy is describing the alternate realities. So long story short, my perspective on the self lately is more like there is no self. Like, can I even say that I like myself when really I'm starting the day with these perspectives of like, who do I want to be today? And I'm like pages through a book. I'm like flipping through here's the mental exercise for me is imagine this post-it note bunch. Each post-it note is a different reality and a different version of myself. And so what I do now is I hold this in front of my mind and I flip through it like this. And when there's a page that appeals to me, I jump into that and I take on that version of myself. And so then life becomes a movie and I become an actor like Samuel L. Jackson or John Travolta or whatever, right? But the morning, as soon as, to me, like this living life is like I'm playing a character. It's like I'm being cast, right? And so, but the thing is, I get to choose, just like Hollywood actors or the most famous Hollywood actors, I get to choose if I want to take a job or not. I can choose to if I want to play this character, then I'll play it. So when it comes to, so if you take that perspective, can you like yourself or can you dislike yourself? You know what I mean? Like, how do you relate to yourself if every day you're just, you've got this movie perspective and you're just playing, you're like, who am I going, which character am I going to play?
Well, I think that even though you are flipping through that catalog and you're finding who you want to be that specific day, you can still like yourself because that self is ever changing. Aha. So if you're always changing, then you still have a self, and that self at the moment is identified with change, is identified with courage, is identified with openness. So you can be whoever the fuck you want to be each day, but just because you're changing and you're somebody new each day, that self is still a self, but it's just changing all the time, right? So you can still, excuse me, I actually think that that's great because I think it leaves you, do you want a self that never changes? Some people do. Somebody are very, very intent on like never changing, and that's their fucking purpose, you know? And I'm not saying that that's like a bad thing. Like, you know, have you ever met somebody that you knew in like kindergarten and you see them now and they haven't changed like not one bit? They pride themselves on that, you know? So that's their self. They still make the same jokes, they talk the same, they wear the same clothes. They're like, I ain't never going to change, right? And they pride themselves in that. So that's their self, right? And then they meet you and you're this completely different person who still likes themselves because their self is ever changing. And I guess that self is something, I don't know, I think tangible means that it can be played with. So like that self is tangible because it's almost like an energy, and your self is your energy. So if you're ever changing and you're somebody new every day, then you can still like yourself because that self is an ever changing, tangible energy.
Yeah, so maybe we need to redefine, or we need to rethink how we view ourselves, and to view ourselves more as something changeable. Maybe that's more in alignment with truth.
Ooh. That was a good one. That was a good one, because maybe the issue with the human mind is that we're conditioned with all of these thoughts, and everyone wants to know themselves, and maybe that's why everyone is so scared of viewing themselves as something changeable, something tangible, an energy that can be morphed into a different arrangement of molecules and atoms every single day and every single moment. And I think that humans, we don't see ourselves as something that can be morphed and changed, which is why we might have an issue and why we might not relate so well to other people, because we're stuck in this one mindset with these programmed thoughts and these sort of things that we've seen in the past and things that we've gathered in the past. I mean, where does the thought, oh my God, he isn't texting me back, he doesn't fucking like me anymore, or you're out to dinner and you know, your friends on their phone and you're like, oh my God, they're on their phone, like they don't want to be here. You know, where do you think those thoughts came from? They came from things that we learned from other people who actually showed us that that was true, but not every single person is the same. And if you hold on to that one idea that that one person showed you, one person out of like a million, billion, trillion people in the universe, you're going to hold on to that because it's something that you know and it's something that's familiar. And when you hold on to something that you know and something that's familiar that's not exactly true, then you're going to have a hard time relating with people who actually aren't trying to do that to you. And you're going to come off as maybe subconsciously somebody who doesn't really like themselves. Because if you're not creating a reality that you like and you're holding on to things that aren't exactly true, then it's almost impossible to like yourself because you don't like the life that you're living. And if you are in charge of your life, which you are, then you aren't going to like yourself because subconsciously you know that you're in charge of your life. And when you don't like yourself, you can't connect with other people.
Right. Yeah. I think the miseducation on identity begins early on because we're taught, I could easily imagine that I did assignments in school in first, second, third grade, maybe fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh grade on identity. And it's, you know, the teacher is trying to teach everyone how to write a paragraph, you know, with 5 full sentences. And they say, well, answer this question, who are you? And then you write your little paragraph. Oh, my name is Bozo. I live in Chicago, Illinois. I have 2 brothers, right? And you're just writing this thing. I like basketball. And you're kind of like just creating the story. And then you turn this in and you say, you know, here's my essay on my identity. You get it back, the teacher gives you an A, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is my identity, I guess, right? This is who I am. And it's an illusion. It's falseness, it's lies, it's poor psychology, because it's not static. And I know you did this little thing with, but I was just trying to summarize what you were saying. So, I mean, but this concept of that, you know, we are changing. And I think that I wonder to what extent people view their identities as static. The more that they view them as static and like not changeable, the more they're going to struggle, I think.
I completely agree, because as I've been becoming like a very serious coach, as somebody who can help other people for a profit, like you can give me your money and know that it's safe and you will come out with the transformation that I promise. I have been working on that new identity. I have to shed my old identity. You know, I have to shed, I'm Kyra Carlin and I can't help anyone. And I may be able to help people, but definitely not at a profit. I sit around all day and watch TV and, you know, maybe drive around and go to a park. You know, I have to shift and realize that I now have to change my entire perspective on my life. And it's not easy, but it's definitely worth it. And it's something that makes me feel more alive because it's new. You know, it's new energy coming in. And so I'll feel more alive once I change. And now I have to look at my life as I am a coach, and I do have to clear, out time in my day to get on coaching calls, to get on strategy calls, to hire assistants. I have to be consistent with my Instagram. You know, I'm forming a completely new identity. And as I'm forming a completely new identity, I start to attract different people that I can connect with better. You know, like when I was 18, I attracted people who wanted to spark me up on marijuana. You know, I attracted people who wanted to give me free drugs. I attracted people who wanted to hang out all day, watch TV, and smoke. But now I'm attracting people who are coming up with business ideas. I'm attracting people who have started their own businesses at the age of 18. I'm attracting people who would rather talk about strategizing in the mind, you know, rather than like silly milly stuff that doesn't entirely matter. So as soon as your identity changes, the people that come into your life change as well. And the better connection that you have with yourself in knowing that you are changing is the better connection that you're going to have with other people, because you can also view them as something who changes. It's like me and you, right? Say I'm like, oh, Robert, how are you today? And your casual answer that I remember about you is, oh, I'm doing great. I just worked out. I have work soon, you know, but say 2 weeks from now, I'm like, hey, Robert, how are you doing? And you're like, oh, well, I fucking picked up, moved. I don't work out in the mornings anymore. I work out at night. And frankly, I like myself a little bit more. So I'm going to be a little bit more stern when I talk. And I'm probably going to be like, whoa, it's not what I was expecting, you know? So, but you would be okay with it, because the first thought in your mind would most likely be, oh, he's just changing. Okay, well, now I have to get used to who he is now. Now I have to get to re-know him. And I think that that's what keeps things alive and keeps the connection going between yourself and others.
Right. It's, yeah, there's so much richness in what you just said. Let me give my kind of closing thoughts, and then I'll pass it to you to close out for today. I think that it's a great example. If next week comes around and I'm acting totally different, there's two ways that could be seen. I mean, or two ways that could be brought about. One is if I'm totally like just not in control and I like go off my rocker and I'm just like bizarre Robert, you know, like that's kind of not what we're getting at, right? That's sort of an issue of like just me not being in control of my own mind. However, the other one, if I decide that, oh, this is how I do want to create myself now, and it's very intentional, then I feel like that's the winning formula, right? It's like a person should be free to create themselves as long as they're aware and they're doing it. But that's why people need this foundation of real psychology, which is what you and I are providing through this podcast, is like a true, like non-distorted view of what the mind is and who human beings are, rather than this miseducation that we got growing up of people telling us, you know, how many times have we acted different growing up, and then some sort of adult told us, you know, hey, that's not who you are, or that's not how you act, or right? And it's just, that's just unaware people teaching the new generation without even knowing it, teaching this wrong psychology. And the truth of it, as we brought to the surface today, is that the human is very fluid. The human being and identity is very fluid, right? And I thought I had more to say on the fluidity, but I just wrote down the word fluid, so it's not coming to me right now. But that's okay, because I acknowledge the flow of ideas, right? Oh, it's this here. This is the last thing I'll say. Okay, with being able to adapt yourself, and this whole analogy of the acting and the stage and the theater. Imagine if you're trying to produce a movie and you're holding these auditions, and this very good actor comes in and you say, all right, well, here's your script. Can you please do your audition, right? And you're playing a character, by the way, who's very who's very sad, and the actor comes in and goes, in a very happy voice, he starts reading the script, right? You know, oh, I hate my life, blah, 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 right? And you're like, wait, no, I said that the role is sad. You have to be a sad person. And this actor is like, well, I'm just a happy person, you just have to take me as I am or whatever, right? And it's like, bro, I don't think you get it. Like, this role is playing the role of a sad and depressed person.
Mm-hmm.
And if that actor is so stubborn, they are a horrible actor.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So people
Mm-hmm.
with this stuck version of themselves and this stuck on one identity, and they can't go out and try a new career. They can't recreate themselves as a coach. They can't do this and that. They can't become an athlete when they're not an athlete. All of this stuff. If they can't do that, they're not just it's not a matter of acting, and it's not that they're a bad actor. They're actually bad at living. They're actually bad at being a human being. They're more like a tree. They're more like a tree that has this fixed essence that never creates itself and just lives the essence of a tree, right? And is just stuck in the ground, right? They're more like a tree than they are a human being. Homo sapiens is at the top of the totem pole. We've populated the planet. Right now, we're about to create a vaccine to eradicate this coronavirus. We are kicking ass on planet Earth. There's a lot of ways in which we struggle, but every time we struggle, it's because we go backwards, we regress backwards in evolution to prior stages of stubbornness when we're not using our mind and we're not using the full powers of our brain that took millions of years to evolve. When we get emotional, that's going backwards in evolution to a stage before we had this complex outer layer of our brain, when we are just emotional animals. You see what I mean? So if we really want to push the envelope and get to the edge of human evolution and the farthest point that we've come to on this planet, then what we have to do is we have to acknowledge the fluidity of our identity and our ability to recreate ourselves at any given moment. All right, that's all I have to say.
I love it. I love it so much, and I think that you're absolutely right with that. If we're always just saying that's just who I am, then you'll never learn anything new. You'll never be anything new. You'll never be anything other than the you that you formed back in that 3rd grade class when you wrote down your identity. I'm a basketball player, So for my last words, I think that I'll just say, I think that this was a really good episode, and I think that there was a lot of good nuggets in here that will help people to have a better relationship with themselves and understand what it is to have a better relationship with yourself and a better relationship with the people that you have in your life, a closer connection, a more open connection, a more secure and confident connection. So thank you, everyone, for listening. We wouldn't be anything without you guys, so thank you so much. You can go ahead and follow me on Instagram at Try Tragedy. I do have a 50% off beta offer going on right now, 5 weeks.
That's dope. People need to take advantage of that. And my Instagram is existence first, all one word. So check us out, be in touch, and be part of this evolving process as we push the envelope. All right, see you all next week.